Hello, Makwaza P. I think that might be your name. Anyways, you got your wish. Here is the Medieval Helmet Part 2. It's not really the helm half Part 2, because we finished both halves. And now we finished the helmet in this video. It is 2 years too late. Yeah, I remembered that at the time my computer broke. It has since been repaired and significantly improved. But as of right now, yeah, I just kind of forgot to put up the video and wasn't very satisfied with the quality. But since we're all kind of locked away, well, I'm not, but a lot of you guys are, I figured I'll put out that video. So I hope you guys enjoy, and right at the end we'll come back here and I'll go over some other details that I forgot to mention in the video. Enjoy. Hello random viewers, and welcome back to another episode where we're working on this helmet. We now have them lined up, more or less. I mean, this one definitely needs some work to be circular like this one. I think I used a different part of the stump and that was the problem. Anyways, we'll fix that later. What I want to do now is put a strip across here, and then we'll rivet it down, and that should hold it on. We're going to leave a gap here and on the other side so that metal can wrap around it to form lower parts of the helmet. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it out just like I did these pieces, bang it out on the stump because it also has to be rounded, planish it, use a drill, put holes, and then we'll try and figure out riveting. I've now begun riveting this section onto the helmet, as you can see. So now these two halves are pretty well attached. I've got clamps holding it at the end that's not being riveted because you want to reclamp it every time you add another row of rivets because it's going to shift ever so slightly. Anyways, a tool that you're going to need is these things. These are bolt cutters, one of the smaller varieties. They come in huge ones that are for actually cutting locks or things like that, but you want the smallest one, and those are good for cutting the roofing nails, which you'll be hammering through here. So anyways, what you're going to do is get it clamped down. That's really hard to do at first, it just takes some practice. Then you're going to want a 1/8 inch drill bit, and what you're going to do is you're just going to put a hole through both pieces, through the other two pieces. Then you're going to want one other drill bit. Let me look at what it is. Then you're going to need a 9/64 drill bit to get the hole a little bit bigger. If you went straight with the 9/64, it would kind of walk around a bit. That is the word for just the drill moving as you're drilling, and it's just not good. Once I've got those holes drilled, because it's just too hard to film that, I'll be right back. Once you've got the holes drilled, remove the clamps. You don't... Okay, hello email. You don't need the clamps. And then what you're going to want to do is flip the thing upside down and set it down on something. Hopefully it won't fall there. Then you're going to want your box of roofing nails, which I've got right here. And you're just going to select one and stick it through both holes. Don't ask about my glove. I know it's broken. It must have gotten cut on something. You don't need gloves. Well, it's not a bad idea. And then you want it to stick out like that. Then what you're going to do is line up the bolt cutters and cut it as short as you can, and then you use the trailer hitch on the bench vise. So the idea is you want the head of that nail, not head, well, yeah, that's the correct word, to sit right on the top of that trailer hitch to hold it up so that when you're hammering on this thing, it will only put impacts onto the nail and not the rest of the thing. Anyways, then what you're going to want to do is take your bolt cutters and try and get it as short as you possibly can, and go further back up the thing because that's just where you want to cut it. I need two hands for this just because it's pretty thick nail, so I can't film myself doing this. Also, the piece goes flying, so yeah, it's kind of dangerous. I'd recommend safety glasses. I'm not wearing them, but I just turned my head away right before it's about to cut and go flying. I'm sure my parents are going to be finding pieces of these everywhere, and it'll probably drive them insane. Once you've cut it, begin hammering on it really hard, but make sure it is on that trailer hitch so that you're not putting dents in the metal like happened on that rivet up there a little bit. Then hammer it till it's flat, and just keep hammering it till you get something a little bit more like that right there, and then kind of round it out. Use a normal wood hammer at first. I don't think that's the right word. Use a normal hammer at the start because you just get more movement out of it, but when you're about halfway done, switch to the ball peen hammer, use the flat end, and get your fine-tuned things with that. And then you should get rivets that look kind of like these. As you can see, well, not really, this camera's not good for focusing. Let's not go upside down because that's annoying. As you can kind of see with these, they're not perfect, they're not going to be, but they're kind of rounded, and that's what you want to do. It's been quite a while since I've been able to work on this, but before I was done last time I built this thing. No, that thing fell again. Whatever. What this is this is going to be the sides, front, and back of the helmet. As you can see, if I hold it up like this, it's shorter in the back and longer on the front. That's because of just the way your head sits. You're not going to be looking down. If you look down, it'll hit there, but if you were to look up and it's even all the way around, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. This will hit the back of your neck, and then you're not going to be able to do stuff. I made it purposely long so that I can do some folding of the metal at the bottom, and I'm going to cut out a face shield at the front. I need to shape it because what I did was I changed the shape of this helmet piece, this bit here. You can't really see it from that angle, but if I flip it around, it's more of a football shape now. It's no longer circular completely. I just did that by pushing it against myself like this and then pulling on the edges in the front and back. So that's good because heads are not perfect spheres. They're longer than they are wide, so that makes it fit better. And I've tried it on with my chainmail, and it's sitting just about right, and that's how I got the measurements for that. You're going to have to get your own measurements for this bit because it's just going to depend on you. Alright, I've just cut out the face hole there. Lots of clamping and unclamping. The seam is right there at the front where the clamps are. But, oh, it's moving. Anyways, I'm going to rivet this along the top. We'll do some folding. I've got to do a lot of filing around this edge of the face to make sure it doesn't cut me, but that's what you're going to do next. Okay, I've finally gotten it riveted all the way around. What you need to do next is fold these ends in with planishing, kind of. Something similar to planishing. You just want to make those flush along the top as well. I found it's useful when doing the rivets around the edge like this to set your bench vise up like this, where you've got the hammer in the bench vise. You've got to get it pretty tight and it'll tear up the handle of your hammer, but if you don't care about that, this is definitely the best way to do it. A lot of people I see use like railroad spikes, but I didn't have any of that stuff. I just had this hammer, so that's what I did. Also, you've got to put two rivets down at the bottom to hold it. Try and get it aligned somewhat, and no, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. After this, what we'll do is, I did some practice on this side, but we'll sand it down and rub it down with some cheap olive oil or something like that. Alright, right now I'm going to hammer those edges. Eventually we're going to have to fold the bottom of it, so make sure you keep those rivets high up like that, and I'll show you that later. As you can see, I've folded this edge, which means that it's all rounded upwards. That is not an easy process. It didn't come out super well, but that is fine. I think it's going to work for me. It makes the helmet a lot stronger now. It doesn't bend anywhere near as easily on the top, and it just provides very good structure. It also makes it fit better. I designed it to need to fit like this, so I made it purposely too long so I could fold over some of that metal. But there's that. So now we're making pretty good progress. The next step is to make a mask. So what I did was I took a really small box that has almost no corrugation. You can get them from like those chip boxes. And that makes it very easy to shape. And I made the shape of the mask, and then I'll make this into a stencil. But anyways, the mask is going to be bent like that, so it'll kind of look like this. Pardon the logos on it, but you kind of get the idea, and that'll, of course, go on right there. I tried two different face or eye slits, and I decided on this right-hand one here. That looks a lot better. This left-hand one was the first try. Anyways, what I did, I just kind of taped it to here with painter's tape, and then cut it out with a sharp X-Acto knife, and that did it. So now I'm going to transfer this to the metal. I actually need to make it a little bit bigger than this, but that won't be too hard to do. I'll just extend it in those sides, and I'll also make it a little bit longer because I needed to cover up an opening in my chainmail around the neck because, nope, don't need to be stabbed there. I kind of forgot to record, but it's done now. I just cut out a piece of metal and bent it, drilled holes in it. Basically the same stuff we did for this side bit here, and made a mask, and then just attached it with a rivet on each side. And there we go, that's the helmet. Let me get that visor up. But that's what it looks like. The visor can then clamp right back down, and it's good to go. I don't know if it'll fit quite right. If it doesn't, what I can do is add some pads inside just to get it to sit quite right. For example, if I'm not seeing, if it's cutting off my vision at the top, I can angle it back like this, by putting pads here and here. If the vision's too low, I can angle it up by putting pads back here and pushing it forward or back, and yeah, you get the idea. Just add pads where you need them. You can make those out of like old jeans and duct tape. That's what I've done before. And yeah, that's about it. So now that you're back from 2 years in the past, one thing I forgot to mention is right here on this edge, when I added this section, do not hammer too close to, I don't know if you can see with that finger there, but right there, do not hit it there with the hammer. If you fold this over, it loses its strength significantly. You have to hit way up here, and it's hard to tell, but this is not flat. It's higher up here than it is down here. That's because all the hammer hits way up here. Because if you hit it flat and you make this a fold in the metal, now all of a sudden it loses significant strength. But when you leave it to where it's almost a slight tube, you give it an insane amount of strength. Hammering that flat is your mistake. You can really see it pronounced right there at the chin lip. You can see how fat it is. That's exactly what you want. It's flat up towards the top, but right here at this edge, it's kind of bowed out, and that gives it that extra strength that it needs. And 2 years later, it's looking pretty good. I mean, it's needed a few minor adjustments. This stuff here is not really rust. This is just that olive oil that I used to polish it, collecting. Where it did get some rust, I believe, is like over here. And what you use is you use a Scotch-Brite pad to kind of sand it dry. You get it looking a lot nicer like that. You can see a spot I just did a repair. And then you re-oil it, and you oil this every few months or so. I mean, when you first make it, you'll need to oil it quite a bit more often, but after you have some good layers on there, it's not as necessary. And then, unfortunately, I never made a video on making these gauntlets. They're pretty cool. You saw them in the rocket engine video. That's what all this is. It's actually rocket exhaust that's splattered onto them, but they've worked pretty well too. I'm not too happy with the design though, and I'm not too happy with this, so maybe one day I can come back and do another suit of armor and really do it correctly and document it properly with good cameras, but that's going to be a way off. I didn't know that I would be learning how to fly airplanes, so that has taken up a significant part of my time. But thank you so much for the patience. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all stay well and have a very nice day.